Right then guys, here we are for the 31st episode in my Stewart Manager series on Grand Prix World. And we're going to be kicking off this episode with a load of announcements, plenty of which will be coming from myself, from Stewart. But before we get into the chief personnel announcements, let's have a look at the news concerning the other teams across the paddock. And to be honest, the news hasn't really been that exciting as of yet. Stefan Sarazan has signed a deal with Minardi. I'm not sure in what role, because Minardi next season have got a race driver seat vacancy and a test driver seat. So Sarazan will either be replacing Emmanuel Collard or Rubens Barrichello. And if he's replacing Barrichello, then, well, that could be interesting, because that could mean that either Barrichello gets a seat with another team, potentially a race seat, or Barrichello could be unemployed. So that's something to keep an eye out on. And we have got a rumour that Tyrrell are close to closing a deal with Andrea Montemini, and Benetton are on the verge of signing the technical director Carl Gadden. But Eddie Jordan has been named the least effective manager in Formula 1. Not too surprising, in the Argentine Grand Prix, Jordan had a double DNF. So did Minardi, but Minardi are actually quicker than Jordan this season. And of course, Minardi in 1998 started off hopeless. Utterly hopeless. Jordan were respectable. And here we are now in 2002, just 4 years later, and Minardi are the quicker team. So that's fairly awarded, actually. Jean Todt, favoured manager, best manager, to be fair, on the Argentine Grand Prix, on the back of the Argentine Grand Prix. That's totally fair. Ferrari got a 1-2 finish, so that's... I mean, I hate Jean Todt getting the award all the time. It's so boring, but I actually can't argue against it. Not this time around anyway. And interestingly, Stewart, we've called for tighter pit security following problems in the Argentine Grand Prix, which can only mean that another team is spying on us. And that says a lot, doesn't it? That shows you just how much we've improved from 1998, because I don't think any team has ever spied on us, or certainly we've never known about another team spying on us in previous years, and that says a lot. You know, other teams are now looking to us to find improvements in their own team, in their own car. That's remarkable, but it does also mean that another team has likely copied our driver aid. They can't have complained about one, because all of our driver aids are legal, apart from the two which aren't, but we're not using them anyway. So another team has probably copied one of our driver aids, which, well, again, shows you just how far ahead of the curve we are compared to lots of other teams in terms of driver aid development, but also means that our advantage compared to a team, we don't know which, but our advantage compared to a team has potentially closed slightly. So finally, I'm going to be revealing who will be helming each of the departments next season, and let's start off with the commercial department. And next season, our commercial manager is going to be 5-star rated Ian Phillips. Now that's a big name, and trust me, this is just the first of many big names who we've got next season. But Ian Phillips, amazingly, he was the only person to turn us down. And as I said, we spoke to a lot of big names in Formula 1, a lot of highly rated people, but Ian Phillips was the only one to turn us down initially. And that was partly on the basis of him not considering us to be a strong championship contender. To be fair, this was before the Australian Grand Prix, so we hadn't proven our pace. I mean, we didn't need to prove our pace for the other people we spoke to, but Ian Phillips, our rate of improvement from 1999 onwards, our decent 2001 season, our quick pace on paper for the 2002 season, that wasn't quite enough. But luckily, and this is the thing, is we've been done over in the past, because I've spoken to people such as Rory Byrne in previous seasons. I've spoken to him just before the Australian Grand Prix. He turns us down, and then just before, or before I have a chance to speak to him a second time, he's signed with another team. And I was terrified that was going to happen with Ian Phillips, but luckily, after the Australian Grand Prix, he was still available. I spoke to him again. He joined us. No problem. Now, Ian Phillips, 5-star rated. I desperately wanted a 5-star rated commercial manager because, well, Last season, we had Stefano Domenicali 5-star rated, and last season was the first season we got a works engine deal from Mercedes-Benz. We got engines from them in the past, but it wasn't until Stefano Domenicali spoke to them on our behalf that Mercedes would offer us a works deal. And also, we couldn't get a team sponsor until Stefano Domenicali came on board, spoke to Red Bull, and we secured their massive funding. And this is the thing is, I've had a horror story in the past. I've talked about this Stewart career mode I did previously or before I started this YouTube series. Now this was in the 2000 season in a career mode where I was managing Stewart, and I had a 3-star rated commercial manager, Rob Armstrong. Now, in that 2000 season I played it differently. I mean, for a kickoff I sold shares in the team, which I'm refusing to do in this career mode. But in 2000 we were a championship contender already, that early into the career mode. 6 races into the 2000 season, we were joint leading the Constructors' Championship, tied on points with McLaren, and we were 30 points ahead of Ferrari. Yet, Rob Armstrong, 3-star rated commercial manager, he couldn't get a team sponsor on board. Red Bull, Blondes, Buzzing Hornets, none of them wanted to sponsor us. I would like to have got Domenicali back, but he's contracted to Benetton until the end of 2004. Everyone else is 3-star rated at best, so we had to speak to Ian Phillips. This is why I was terrified that after the Australian Grand Prix he would have signed with someone else, because that's happened before with Rory Byrne, the chief designer. But luckily Ian Phillips still available, we signed him, and that means we're going to have a rosy future. One person who's going to ensure we have a rosy future is one Mr. Rory Byrne. I've been trying to get him in the team for years, and finally we did it. The first time I spoke to him this season, he joined us. No problems, he didn't sign with someone else after the Australian Grand Prix this season. He just joined us. He must have been impressed with our rate of improvement from 1999 onwards, and of course our fairly impressive 2001 season. So we've got Rory Byrne, a man who started off as a 5-star rated, the only 5-star rated chief designer, but unfortunately he's now only 4-star rated, one of 3 4-star rated chief designers. So I've signed a big name commercial manager and chief designer, but in terms of the technical director, I'm sticking with Harvey Postlethwaite. Now there are 3 4-star rated commercial managers. Adrian Newey, he's with Arrows until the end of 2003, so he's unavailable. I did consider signing John Bernard, but, well, Harvey Postlethwaite, he's cheap. As you can see, his current salary is just under $1 million because he originally was with Tyrrell. Tyrrell don't have a lot of money to offer Harvey Postlethwaite, so even now, years later, his salary demands are still quite reasonable. Well, John Bernard, only 1 rating higher. I offered him $4.2 million, and that wasn't enough. I didn't actually speak to Ross Brawn, but I believe his salary demands are even higher than John Bernard's, and if $4.2 million isn't enough to get him to join the team, then Ross Brawn's probably going to want in excess of $5 million, maybe $6 million. I'm not paying that much for a technical director because they don't actually do that much. Finally, you've got the chief mechanic position, and I elected to keep Paul Diggins with the team. His contract was due to run out at the end of this season. I've extended it by another couple of seasons. Actually, one thing I should stress with regards to Postlethwaite, the technical director, his contract wasn't actually due to run out at the end of this year, but I just looked into the possibility of getting a better technical director in early and then buying off what remained of Postlethwaite's contract. And actually, once you factor that in, it makes even less financial sense. Paul Diggins, though, his contract was due to run out with the team, so I did have a look at the other chief mechanics available. But again, Paul Diggins, another original Tyrrell person. So again, his salary's cheap, $160,000. That's it. The 2 5-star chief mechanics, well, their salaries are about $1 million. So I can't really square the price difference. It just isn't worth paying an extra 900,000 at least. Or look at it another way. It's not worth paying another 5 times the price at least to get someone 1 rating better. As you may remember, we've technically got a level 2 active suspension unit. Technically, we don't use it because it's not legal. As far as the FIA are concerned, we've only got a level 1 active suspension unit. And we got a illegal level 2 active suspension and automatic gears driver aid through a weird glitch. And as I said, I don't use the level 2, the illegal level 2 driver aids, because if we do, we'll gain a fractional amount of lap time, but we're then at risk of being disqualified from a race. And bearing in mind, we're in championship contention for this season, we can't risk a disqualification. If we were on the edge of the points or a backmarker team, maybe, but no, the team's too good to be risking disqualification. However, we have now got a chance to legally register a level 2 active suspension unit. That's assuming the FIA deem this one to be legal. No, they've rejected it, of course. So, yet again, although, hang on, as you can see, we now don't have a level 2 active suspension unit, right? Let me just double check that, because that must mean, yeah, it's gone. Well, do you know what? I'm actually kind of glad it's gone, because what I know for a fact is that had the FIA approved our level 2 active suspension unit, what would have happened is we would have had a legal level 2 system but an illegal level 3 system, so we would have leveled up both our legal and illegal components. What I didn't know is what would happen if the FIA rejected it, but seemingly the level 2 system goes entirely, and to be honest, that's fine by me. It's not a loss because I was never going to run it in the first place. We have still got a un-FIA approved level 2 automatic gears, and that's why I'm going to start working on automatic gears, because if we are able to run it by the FIA successfully, then that's great. We've got a legal level 2 system. Yes, we've got a illegal level 3, but that's a whole separate problem. And if they reject it, we've got rid of that burden, so that's not really a loss, although it is frustrating because I'd rather have a legal level 2 driver aid than a legal level 1 driver aid. That is one element of the car that we could have improved between the previous Grand Prix and this one, but unfortunately the FIA, they're trying to slow our rate of development down. So we may not have improved our driver aids in between the Argentine and San Marino Grand Prix. Actually, technically speaking, we've gone backwards, but that doesn't matter because there's many other areas of the car we can improve. First off, the engines. Let's not forget the Australian Grand Prix, we were using the first model Mercedes-Benz engine. Then in the Brazilian Grand Prix, the second round of the season, we were using the second model engine. Last time, Argentina, the third model engine, and here we are now. No, because that's an XX engine. Right, so we're not using the fourth model engine because this is the one that we tuned personally for our team. None of the other Mercedes-Benz engine teams get the third model engine, not our third model engine anyway. There's the fourth model, which has been tuned by Mercedes themselves, and weirdly, I mean, this is where you have to suspend your disbelief because Mercedes have done a worse job at improving their engine than we have. And it's their engine, and we've got to run a team, design a car, all sorts. And we're still doing engine development better than them. So scrap the fourth model, the fifth model engine. Look at that. So we've improved the fuel. That's nearly at the maximum. We've also improved, I think, the weight. Yes, so we've got a minimum weight engine. Basically, every stat is now maxed out. Fuel nearly is, heat's only 2 off, and rigidity is the one I'm going to improve last because it doesn't matter. Not really. Having low rigidity means you can't even complete a race, but the difference between middling rigidity and high rigidity, I don't actually think there is any. But even still, we've improved the Mercedes engine even further. Already got perfect dry weather tyres, and of course now we're improving the intermediate tyres. So here's the first model intermediate tyres, and here's the second model. Yes, we've only done one stage of improvement, but even then, that's how they were to start off with. That's the ones we're running now. Massive improvement in one Grand Prix. I mean, we're dangerously close to maxing out the intermediate tyres, then we'll have to work on the wet weather tyres, and then that's it. Very soon, and I mean very soon, in a few races time, we're going to max out the Mercedes engine and all of the compounds of tyres to be perfect. And that says a lot, doesn't it? How can we be doing engine development better than Mercedes-Benz and tyre development better than Michelin? Don't know. Anyway, let's apply these upgrades to Heinz-Harald Frentzen as well. So, there you go. Right, 5th model engine. Yeah, that's all good. Confirm the assembly. And, well, San Marino, Imola. Iconic circuit, and certainly I'm hoping for a podium finish minimum. I'm hoping very soon we're going to become the quickest team on circuit. We haven't been really so far this season, but I'm hoping for much, much more very soon. Hopefully it can start off in the 2002 San Marino Grand Prix. That's not bad. Heinz-Harald Frentzen 2nd in qualifying, Alexander Wirtz 4th. On average, we're the quickest team, because yes, Giancarlo Fisichella for Ferrari got pole position, and he was the only driver to dip into the 1 minute 25s, although Frentzen 8 thousandths of a second off. Fisichella, brilliant for Ferrari, however Moreira of course, Celso Moreira, his teammate, in 6th. That's not ideal, but I mean look at the margins, 5 thousandths away from Esteban Tuero in the Williams, and actually Williams, they've done pretty well. Damon Hill 3rd on the starting grid, Esteban Tuero 5th. Tyrrell still going strong, quicker than both Benettons, both McLarens, Michael Schumacher and David Coulthard leading their teammates, Tor Takaki and Pierre Rainbow respectively. Eddie Irvine 13th for Minardi, he's still going strong. I mean, Eddie Irvine in a Minardi nearly scored points earlier on this season. Maybe he'll do it here at the team's one of their 2 home races? Maybe, well let's see. Anyway, Emmanuel Collard is teammate in 14th, so Minardi overall doing pretty well. Then you've got both Arrows, Johnny Herbert for Sauber, then both Prost, Sarrazin and the other Sauber, and then both Jordans. And Jordan really still not doing well at all. I mean, Sarrazin, a 30.8, that's pretty poor compared to all the drivers ahead of him. He's 5 tenths. Yeah, just under half a second slower than his teammate, but at least he's in the 1 minute 30s. Alesi 131.2, Redon 131.7. Absolutely amazing. Well, qualifying was pretty good, but the race couldn't have gone better. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has won the 2002 San Marino Grand Prix, and his teammate Alexander Wirtz 2nd. Only 7 seconds separating those 2 drivers, although I can't really get too overconfident, too cocky, because Fisichella only 2.2 seconds behind Alexander Wirtz, so it wasn't exactly a whitewash. Not when you look at the actual race times. Fisichella 3rd for Ferrari, that's pretty good, and also Moreira 5th. Damon Hill splitting the 2 Ferrari drivers. Tyrrell, yet again, scoring points. Mika Salo 6th, Montemini in 7th. I mean, I still can't get over this. McLaren, Benetton, they haven't scored points. In fact, Michael Schumacher's retired because there's Takaki in 9th. Michael Schumacher's gone. Beaten by Eddie Irvine, beaten by both Tyrrells, Rossetton and Arrows. How many people retired? Either that or some drivers finished quite a few laps down, although actually, hang on, Jordan had a double retirement, so yeah, we'll have no idea how many laps down they were. Jean Alesi, Jordan, brakes failure, Emmanuel Collard, disappointing, although Eddie Irvine only finished in 13th, and his race pace, I would assume, would be better than Emmanuel Collard's. So, Collard, hydraulics failure for Minardi, although Minardi just... they've got the pace, but not really the reliability. Michael Schumacher, driver mistake. The Constructors' Championship is pretty much unquestionably a 2-horse race. Williams aren't going to challenge us. I mean, already they're 19 points down. Tyrrell, as much as I would love Tyrrell to be in championship contention, they're not. Not really. They're going to be fighting Williams for 3rd, which is still phenomenal given where they were in 1998. But Tyrrell, I mean, they're doing well, don't get me wrong. I would love for them to be right up the very top, but they're not quite. Not yet. Benetton aren't, McLaren aren't, they're both on single figure points. Meanwhile Stewart, we're on 33 points. We've closed the gap down to Ferrari. Ferrari is still leading it by 4 points, but momentum is very much on our side. Come on Max Mosley, do your worst, because the worst you can do is get rid of something I never wanted, never deserved, and to be honest it's quite annoying anyway, so do whatever you like. Automatic gears level 2, rejected it. Don't have a problem with that, we've now got rid of both of those illegal driver aids we never should have had. Don't have a problem. Thank you Max Mosley, although I can't explain why I'm thanking you, because that would be admitting that we possessed an illegal driver aid. Although, I doubt it's illegal to have something illegal. Surely not. They can't penalise you for owning something that's against the rules. Because as long as you don't run it, it doesn't matter. And even if you run it in private test sessions, it doesn't matter because they're something you do off your own back. So, to be honest, Max Mosley, thank you. You forced me to scrap an illegal driver aid. Thank you. Another race, another set of upgrades. Let's start off with the engine. So, last Grand Prix, the San Marino Grand Prix, we just did it. We used the then all-new 5th model Mercedes-Benz engine. Get rid of it. It's old, it's rubbish. Why have we even still got it now? Because we've got the 6th model engine. That's the one we want to be using. I mean, it's comical, to be honest. It is comical. Well, firstly, that we're improving Mercedes' own engine quicker than Mercedes, but also the rate at which we're improving, I mean, the engine, especially something that complicated. Improving anything on the car that quickly is laughable, but the engine, something which we're not even manufacturing ourselves, is comical. But look, every single performance stat is maxed out. Rigidity isn't, but rigidity doesn't even matter anyway, not at this point. Although, for the following Grand Prix, which I believe is Monaco, we're going to have a maxed out engine, entirely maxed out, including maxed out rigidity. So that's how early into the season we'll have a perfect, 100% perfect engine. Anyway, it's not just the engine, because of course we've got no intermediate tyres. I mean, to be fair, we're heading to Spain, the Circuit de Catalunya, it's unlikely to rain. Although, having said that, wasn't it in winter testing a year or two ago, there was snow? So, you know, that was, although to be fair, that was February. And also, wasn't it the 1995? No, it can't have been, because Schumacher won and was driving for Ferrari, so 1996, I believe. I think so, the 1996 Spanish Grand Prix, a fairly famous one, torrential rain, Michael Schumacher won it, and yes, that was a Michael Schumacher win for Ferrari, but that was when Ferrari was still rubbish. That was when, you know, Benetton were the team to beat, and Ferrari less so. So it might well rain, and if it does, we've got improved intermediate tyres, near perfect. Although, if it is heavy rain, we're still going to have to run with the stock wet weather tyres, but they're pretty good, to be honest. So I'm not really too concerned. So, improved engine, improved intermediate tyres, no improvement in driver aids, but honestly that doesn't really matter, to be honest. Especially as we might well be the quickest team on the grid. Already this season, we might be quicker than Ferrari. And that's quite some achievement, it really is. Well, let's see. So, the 5th round of the season, hopefully this will be the round where we establish the championship lead in both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship and prove once and for all we're the team to beat and we're the team that's going to win certainly one championship this season, maybe both. Who knows, or maybe we'll have a double retirement like Jordan last Grand Prix. I don't know. I mean, Michael Schumacher made a mistake last Grand Prix. If it can happen to Michael Schumacher, it can happen to anyone. Anyway, let's stop talking about it. Let's get into the Circuit de Catalunya for the 2002 Spanish Grand Prix. Serves me right for bigging up our chances. 4th and 5th in qualifying, that's not horrific. Heinz Alfredson beat Fisichella, and that's what I'm most concerned about. But Moreira in 2nd. Although Moreira's a dark horse, isn't he? He really is. I mean, he could well romp away with the race win, totally unopposed. He could crash out, he could finish in 10th. Honestly, who knows? You can give Moreira the quickest car on the grid and he could finish anywhere. So, That's an interesting one, but he beat us and his teammate in qualifying, so that's certainly cause for concern. But what's more interesting, Damon Hill for Williams on pole position, Esteban Tuero also for Williams 3rd in qualifying. I mean, Williams, they've done pretty decently well so far this season, 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. Damon Hill won the Brazilian Grand Prix, so I mean, are Williams, they're so inconsistent. Are they just quick at hot circuits? Well, no, because we went to, well, Imola, but also we went to Albert Park, Melbourne. I mean, I don't get it. You know, Williams, very quick in Brazil, very quick here. I'm trying to think up a logic, but I really can't. Because, you know, they're either class beating or, well, not quite that. Tyrrell, I mean, Tyrrell. Sometimes Williams are slower than Tyrrell, but then sometimes they're quicker than everyone else. I wish I could tell you why. And it was a dry qualifying session. This has got nothing to do with Damon Hill being phenomenal in the rain. I mean, if it was a wet qualifying session, Moreira certainly wouldn't have qualified in 2nd. He, yeah, probably would be in about 10th, to be honest. Further down the field, we've got David Coulthard in 7th, Michael Schumacher in 8th, beating both Tyrrells. Mika Salo, the leading Tyrrell, in 9th, beating Takaki, Rainbow, then Montemini. One constant in this series, well, this season certainly, Eddie Irvine for Minardi, 13th. Just always, he's always the best of the bottom half of the grid, always. Collard 14th, I assume? Yeah, Minardi are just in a field of their own. That's the thing, is they can't really compete with Tyrrell, McLaren, Benetton, and then certainly the teams above that. And then behind both Minardis you've got Arrows, Sauber. Yeah, both Arrows, both Saubers, both Prost and both Jordans. Jordan still in a field of their own. I mean, Jordan, horrific season. Okay, right, that's good news to an extent. Heinz-Harald Frentzen winning the 2002 Spanish Grand Prix. Moreira in 2nd, he beat his teammate. Giancarlo Fisichella in 3rd, Tuero for Williams in 4th, Michael Schumacher 5th, Mika Salo for Tyrrell 6th. So I was going to say yet again Minardi just about missed out on points, but then it occurred to me I can't see any Minardi driver, and then it occurred to me only 11 drivers, just less than half the grid, finished the race. Damon Hill, Johnny Herbert, 2 different drivers, different teams. They're both British, but they both retired with hydraulics failures, and then Wirtz a brakes failure, right. That's concerning actually, but I think all of the technology components on our cars are pretty good. Yeah, I think they're all at least 3 out of 5 rated in both performance and reliability, so that's just unlucky. And I fully repaired both cars before we entered the Grand Prix, because of course we did. You know, I mean, you know, if we were still a cash-strapped team, then perhaps I wouldn't, but repairing cars is so cheap compared to some of the other things we do. Of course I fully repaired Wirtz's car. Just got unlucky, but although actually not really, well, it depends on how you interpret it. Yes, he's unlucky. He had a completely, fully working car, the same as his teammate. His let go, Frentzen's didn't, but he's actually in the majority of drivers by retiring. Damon Hill, Johnny Herbert, Shinji Nakano, Emmanuel Collard, Alexander Wirtz, Toru Takaki, Ricardo Rosset, Jean Alesi, Pierre Rainbow, Laurent Redon, and Eddie Irvine all retired. What if Celso Moreira actually finishes 2nd in the Drivers' Championship? What if he does? He was leading it for a while. Heinz-Harald Frentzen though has overtaken him, 31 points. But he's only got a 2-point gap on Celso Moreira, so it's not exactly massive. And Moreira, he's still got an 11-point lead on his teammate. Damon Hill are way back, Alexander Wirtz are way back. I mean, this is some weird parallel universe we've stumbled into. 2002, in real life F1, a Schumacher whitewash. Totally, comprehensively. Here we are now, we've got Moreira, who I think he's fictional. Certainly he's lowly skilled anyway. He's 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, and he's landed a seat at Ferrari. God knows how that happened. I can't even remember the chain of events that led to that happening, it just sort of happened. Wirtz, disappointed for him, he's now 19 points behind his teammate, but at some point, Frentzen, he's got to have a streak of bad luck. I don't want him to, but, you know, there's still hope for Wirtz yet. I mean, you know, we've only done not even a third of the season. There's still a long way to go, and I think, weirdly, I think Frentzen might well win the championship. If not, Wirtz might, and if not, Moreira will. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. No, that is correct, isn't it? Of course it is. Yes, we were on 33 points. We're now on 43 points because we scored 10 points thanks to a race win for Frentzen. Ferrari also scored 10 points thanks to getting second and third. Yo, I thought the game glitched out. I thought it was showing me the Constructors' Championship results from the previous race, but no, of course it isn't. We both just scored 10 points, so actually, Ferrari's still in it. We've got ultimate pace, but judging by the most recent race, reliability perhaps not. Although, I'm not feeling confident, not really. I mean, qualifying was a minor concern, but then again, Williams, phenomenal in qualifying, less so in the race. That's odd. But then again, I'd rather be slow in qualifying, well, slow, comparatively slow in qualifying and quick in the race, because you don't get anything for qualifying. And actually in this game, qualifying doesn't mean a massive amount anyway. Well, as this race proved, evidently. This has been a remarkably productive and successful episode, and I'm going to call it off here. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next episode, where we're going to be racing around Monaco and many other circuits besides. So I'll see you guys then.